Hello, dear friends. I will discuss a term which is very widely used and discussed in post-colonial theory. It is mimicry, which is also called hybridity by Homike Bhabha. So, mimicry or hybridity is a very crucial problem with the colonized subject. Hybridity is a kind of admixture of the local culture and the imported culture in the mind of the colonized. And this very hybridity produces a kind of ambivalence. And it also leads into the location of in-betweenness. So while a colonial subject is led to the location of in-betweenness, he suffers from anxiety and angst. So this angst and this anxiety is the product of his ambivalence, is the product of his hybridized identity. And it is also known as mimicry. So now let me define mimicry. Mimicry is a kind of imitation. That is, while a colonial subject imitates the imported culture, imported ideas, and imported behavior of the colonizers, and intends to become like the colonizers, then this disposition may be termed as mimicry. And mimicry is a very important objective of colonial enterprise. And we know it from the history. If we think of Babington Macaulay's Minute in 1835, then we find that he declared that he intended to produce a generation of the Indians who would be British in education, but Indian in blood. Actually, this is the hybridization, that is Indian and British. So the mixture of these two identities in a single subject is called hybridity. And it's a problem. We know that in 1774 at Fort William, Supreme Court was established. And after the establishment of Supreme Court, the British felt the necessity of some clerks and some accountants. So they wanted to create this section of people who would serve as clerks and accountants. For that reason, they introduced their education system. They patronized some educational institutions here in the subcontinent, and they imposed their curriculum. Their purpose was to create a generation who would speak their language, who would behave like them, and who would have the taste of the British. So, with that very intention, they introduced their academic curricula, and they also introduced their education system, their language. They imposed their culture. And many people of the subcontinent accepted their offer because that very offer was involved in some uh, facilities or privileges. For example, the English learners got the opportunity to uh, have the jobs in British offices. They enjoyed special status in the society. They earned more money than the other people of the society. And they had an opportunity to remain in contact with the people who were in the center of the power structure. So while these privileges dazzled the eyes of the natives, there was a flourishment, there was a uh, blooming of schools which dedicated to teach English words to the local learners. And at that time, many schools were established in the subcontinent and they offered vocabulary or word book based English knowledge to the learners. Some schools offered that they would teach 200 English words to the learners, and some other schools offered that they would teach 400 English words to the learners. So at that time, the knowledge of English was only word book based knowledge. And that was very much beneficial for the natives because they, with that very knowledge, they got the jobs, their intended jobs in different offices. Actually, it was one of the strategies that was used or applied for the people to uh, produce a mimic main generation. And in this regard, I like to give an example from the book of Chancellor Williams. His famous book is The Destruction of Black Civilization. In that very book, at page number 25, Chancellor Williams has said, while an African goes to England or France or America for education, he usually does not want to come back to his country. So why? Because he thinks that after receiving education in those glaring cities or living in the culture, in the midst of the culture of those people, while he will return to his country, he will not be able to adjust himself with the people of his country. So they hesitate to come back home because they think that they are now not fit to adjust themselves with the people of their country. So in this way, they are transformed into mimic men. So these people may receive higher education, or they may receive degrees. They may also come back home and they may work as professors, they may work as magistrates, they may work as intellectuals. But they will then work as representative or agents of the colonizers or of those colonizing countries because they would then teach the cultures, the languages, or the manners that they have learned in those countries. And they will also produce a generation of mimic men. So the production of this generation of mimic men is done not by the colonizers directly, but also by the local people who work as the agents of the colonizers. In this way, the mimic men generation is produced. And while this mimic men generation is produced, then colonization does not need to exercise power upon the people or coercion upon the people. They need not dominate upon the directly with weapons or with different apparatuses. Because while this situation is created, that is the situation of giving and taking, the situation of giving and taking, or the mutualization or mutual understanding, while this atmosphere of mutual understanding is produced, uh, then they remain or they continue exercising their power upon the natives. This is called hegemony. So, hegemony is the exercise of power upon the colonized subject or upon the natives through compromise. And the natives are convinced that whatever they are receiving from the colonizers is not bad for them, it is necessary for the comfort of their life. So, in this way, colonization gets perpetuated. So, perpetuation of colonial process goes on even in the physical absence of the colonizers because of mimicry. So, mimicry is one of the strategies of colonizing mission to perpetuate colonial enterprise or colonialism or colonial exploitation in different parts of the world. So I will discuss this particular term in detail from theoretical perspective in my next lecture. So no more today. Thank you very much.